Welcome to Module 2 covering MIOSHA's Hazard Communication Standard. In this module, we will be discussing the chemical classifications in the Hazard Communication Standard. Understanding the chemical classifications is essential for recognizing the potential hazards and severity a chemical can pose to your health and safety. This knowledge can help users take appropriate precautions and respond effectively in the case of exposure. Chemical manufacturers and importers are required to evaluate each chemical produced and classify any hazards identified in accordance with the criteria in Appendix A and B of the standard. Health and physical hazard classifications are addressed by MIOSHA's Hazard Communication Standard, while environmental hazards are addressed by environmental regulatory agencies. The classification of chemicals is based on a standardized criteria using the available chemical information. The health hazards chemicals must be evaluated for are listed below. Acute toxicity is serious, potentially lethal, adverse health effects which may occur after a single or short-term exposure. Skin corrosion refers to irreversible damage to the skin, while skin irritation refers to reversible damage after exposure. Likewise, serious eye damage is tissue damage to the eye which is not fully reversible, while eye irritation is changes to the tissue which is fully reversible. For both skin and eye irritation, the time to fully reverse these effects is dependent upon the chemical. Respiratory sensitization refers to the hypersensitivity of the airways occurring after inhaling a chemical. Skin sensitization refers to developing an allergic response after coming into contact with a chemical. After sensitization, health effects may occur even when exposed to lower levels of the same chemical. Germ cell mutation refers to gene mutations which may be passed to children. Carcinogenicity is the ability to induce or increase the occurrence of cancers after exposure. Reproductive toxicity is adverse effects on sexual function and fertility in adults and present developmental toxicity to offspring. Specific target organ toxicity is the ability of a chemical to cause toxic effects on certain organs. These toxic effects may be reversible or irreversible. This classification is broken down to assess if the toxic effects occur after a single exposure or after repeated exposures. Aspiration is the entry of a liquid or solid directly or indirectly from vomiting into the trachea and lower respiratory system. Aspiration hazards cause severe acute effects such as chemical pneumonia, lung damage, or death which may occur after aspiration of a chemical. Pictograms are graphical elements which are designed to quickly convey information about the hazards of a chemical. There are 8 pictograms regulated by the Hazard Communication Standard. The 9th relates to environmental toxicity, which is regulated by environmental regulatory agencies. Each pictogram may represent multiple hazards, so it is important to review applicable hazard statements or safety data sheets to understand the specific hazards of the chemical. Below are the pictograms which represent the health hazards introduced on the previous slide. The skull and crossbone represents acute toxicity, which generally is severe or fatal. The exclamation mark can represent any single or combination of the following hazards: skin or eye irritation, a dermal sensitizer, acute toxicity, which may not be fatal, narcotic effects. These are effects which may depress the central nervous system and include symptoms like drowsiness, fatigue, irritability, and decreased alertness, coordination, or judgment. It also includes respiratory tract irritation, ozone depletion, or hazards that cannot otherwise be classified. The health hazard symbol is the upper body with a star shape in the chest. This symbol represents a chemical that has any of a carcinogen, respiratory sensitizer, reproductive toxin, specific organ toxin, can cause gene mutations, or presents aspiration toxicity. The test tube pouring on metal and a hand represents skin corrosion or burns and serious eye damage. The damage caused by these may not be reversible. The chart on this slide shows the health hazard classifications discussed with their applicable categories. The number of categories may vary between the hazard classes. However, a lower number category will always indicate a greater severity. For example, a chemical classified as a Category 1 serious eye damage can cause irreversible or serious eye damage not quickly reversible. A Category 2A eye irritant can cause eye irritation, which effects are fully reversible within 21 days. And a Category 2B eye irritant can cause mild irritation. However, these effects are reversible within 7 days. The physical hazards chemicals must be evaluated for are below. Explosives are solids or liquids that are capable of chemical reactions producing gases at temperatures and pressures which can damage its surroundings. Flammables are gases, liquids, or solids which can ignite and burn when exposed to sources of ignition. Aerosols are non-refillable vessels containing a gas that is compressed, liquefied, or dissolved under pressure. These will have a device to release the contents of the vessel as a gas, liquid, foam, paste, or powder. The oxidizing properties of gases, liquids, and solids must be evaluated. Oxidizers are chemicals which provide oxygen and can cause or contribute to the combustion of other materials more so than air. Self-reactives are unstable chemicals which may undergo strong heat-releasing decomposition even without oxygen. Pyrophoric liquids or solids are chemicals which may ignite within 5 minutes of coming into contact with air. Self-heating chemicals are able to react with air to produce heat. These chemicals will only ignite in large amounts and after long periods, typically hours or days, of exposure to air. Organic peroxides are certain types of chemicals with an oxygen to oxygen bond. The chemicals can be unstable and present explosive, corrosive, toxic, and extreme fire hazards. Chemicals which are corrosive to metal will damage or even destroy metals. Gases under pressure are gases which are pressurized, liquefied, or dissolved inside of a container. These may include products like compressed oxygen, liquefied propane gas, or acetylene cylinders. Chemicals classified as in contact with water emits flammable gas are able to give off flammable gas or become spontaneously flammable after reacting with water. Desensitized explosives are explosive chemicals which have been rendered less sensitive to heat, shock, impact, or friction by the addition of an agent to stabilize the chemical. The below 5 pictograms represent the physical hazards associated with a chemical. Again, each pictogram may represent multiple hazards, so it is important to review applicable hazard statements or safety data sheets to understand the specific hazards of the chemical. The circle with flames over top of it is used to signify the chemical is an oxidizer. The flame is used to identify chemicals which are flammable, self-reactive, pyrophoric, self-heating, emit a flammable gas when in contact with water, organic peroxides, and/or a desensitized explosive. The exploding bomb pictogram indicates a chemical is explosive, self-reactive, and/or an organic peroxide. The test tube pouring on metal and a hand represents the chemical is corrosive to metals. This pictogram is the same as the one used to indicate skin corrosion or serious eye damage. Be sure to check the SDS and label to ensure you are aware of which hazard this pictogram is identifying. The cylinder represents either gases or chemicals under pressure. The chart below shows the physical hazard classifications discussed and their applicable categories. The number of categories may vary between the hazard classes. However, a low number will always indicate a greater severity. For example, when reviewing flammable liquids, a chemical classified as a Category 1 flammable liquid will be able to give off enough vapors to ignite at a specified temperature below 73.4 degrees Fahrenheit and have a boiling point less than 95 degrees Fahrenheit. The low boiling point means that liquid will more easily be converted to vapors to support ignition or the fire. Comparatively, a Category 4 flammable liquid will need a temperature somewhere between 140 and 199.4 degrees Fahrenheit to give off enough vapors to ignite. Self-reactives and organic peroxides use an A through G system. In this case, A represents a greater hazard, which decreases as it moves towards G. It is important to review the hazard classes and categories in your work area to understand the dangers that they present. This concludes Module 2. Module 3 will discuss labels and other forms of warning.